Good evening. Tonight we have a very special pleasure. We have Dr. Nikki Giovanni with us, a true national treasure. I remember when I first heard her read, and I was a student not unlike many of you. And they say the voice of a poet changes with times, and also our hearing can change with time. So I will also look forward to hearing her again. And I want to thank her for coming to us. And I will allow now Professor Lisa Yount, who will come and introduce Dr. Giovanni and tell us some good things. Thank you.
Well, welcome everybody. This is a fantastic turnout, and I just wanted to let you know that at Savannah State University, we have what is known as a Quality Enhancement Plan, or AKA QEP. And our QEP is called the Right Attitude. And this is a campus-wide initiative to enhance our students' learning by improving attitudes about writing. And as director of the QEP, I have an awesome job. I get to dream up ways to get our students excited about writing, both inside the classroom and outside of the classroom. And so this week has been QEP week, and we've really gotten to showcase what we do best at the QEP. We've had workshops on improving grammar and essay skills. Those go on all semester long for our students. We have had sessions on how to take your classroom writing and turn it into a conference presentation, for an academic audience. Seminars on how to compose and deliver a poster presentation of your student research, creative writing workshops on poetry and fiction, and writing contests for essays, and lunch and learns that bring community members to campus to help our students understand how writing is going to be essential to their future jobs. We had Lady Mahogany just here last week, and she really inspired the students about explaining how writing has made such a difference in her life. And of course, this week was not without the excitement of the weather. So a couple of our events we're going to reschedule for next week, so it'll just be QEP week 2. So our open mic night and our movie night, students look for those to be rescheduled next week, and our resume writing workshop. But no kind of weather, real or imagined, could keep our keynote speaker from us here tonight. So I am just thrilled to have the person. When I was thinking of QEP week, I thought, who would be the best keynote speaker? And of course I dreamt big. I thought, Dr. Giovanni. And I sent an email, and they said yes. And I thought, that was too easy. And the weather happened. So it got really exciting for a minute, but everything worked out. All's well that ends well. And I know you are here because you know her already, but I just want to share a couple of things about her that are so impressive. And to those of you who are just learning about her, listen to this. She's obviously a world-renowned poet, writer, commentator, activist, and educator. Over the past 30 years, her outspokenness in her writing and in her lectures has brought the eyes of the world upon her. Giovanni was born in Knoxville, Tennessee, but she has family here in Albany, Georgia as well. She graduated with honors from Fisk University in 1968. After graduating from there, she attended the University of Pennsylvania and Columbia University. She published her first book of poetry, Black Feeling, Black Talk, in 1968, and within the next year published a second book, thus launching her career as a writer. Over the course of more than 3 decades of publishing and lecturing, she has come to be called both a national treasure and most recently one of Oprah Winfrey's 25 Living Legends. Many of Giovanni's books have received honors and awards, including the NAACP Image Award. She is an honorary member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority and has received life membership and scroll from the National Council of Negro Women. The author of some 30 books for both adults and children, Nikki Giovanni is a University Distinguished Professor at Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, Virginia. And after her address, we will have an opportunity for some question and answer from the audience, at which point we will move these mics to the aisles and you can form some lines, and we'll ask her things as long as we can take, right? We have to be kind to our guests, because we also would like for her to maybe sign a few things, take a few photographs, and we'll do that over in the corner after our question and answer session comes to an end. So please welcoming our esteemed guest, Dr. Nikki Giovanni, as she talks about writing and empowerment.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be in Savannah. I do. My mother's family are the Watsons. And so for those of you who know Albany, there's a building downtown. It's the Watson building. That would be there, you know. My grandfather was a Fisk University graduate. And he actually, you know, for the history of it, this has nothing to do with what we're doing today, but he actually married a Spelman woman. And, yeah, I mean, good for grandmother. But the problem was, of course, that then he met grandmother. And I'm the only grandchild, actually, this has nothing to do with anything, but I'm the only grandchild that lived with grandmother and grandpapa. And they would banter back and forth, you know, he was 20 years older than she was. So, I don't know, I mean, he must have been 70, that would make her 50, something like that. And he would say to me, and I'm just sharing, this is about nothing. And he would say to me, you know, Nikki, and he would say it loud. He said, you know, Nikki, I only wanted to kiss your grandmother. And she would say, John Brown, if I had let you kiss me, you would have never married me. And I would say to myself, you know, I kiss people, I mean, I'm a little girl, you know, people come in and give me a kiss, you give them a kiss. I thought, why wouldn't grandmother give him a kiss? It took me a long time before I realized that that was a metaphor. It was. And I had to laugh about that, but he had to divorce his wife and marry her. But grandmother had a lot of mouth. And she also, and I'm sure, you know, if you get these things genetically, I'm going to get it from grandmother, because grandpapa was always soft-spoken. Always, he was a Latin scholar. His idea, he wanted to be a diplomat. Can you think of anything crazier? He's a 1905 graduate of Fisk University. Can you think of anything crazier than a colored man from Albany, Georgia, wanting to be a diplomat in 1905? You see what I'm saying? So it's not surprising I wanted to be a writer, because what else is going to be foolish in that? But grandmother also grew beautiful flowers all of her life. Grandmother would go and get what is called a cutting. And she would, you know, it would be there, and she could take anybody's anything and get a little cutting out of it, and then it would grow, and it was really, really beautiful. And one day a white lady, they lived in Albany, and one day a white lady came by and said to my grandmother, you know, I want to, I'm sure she called her something, you know, lady, whatever, she wouldn't call her lady, but, you know, I would like to have some of those flowers. And grandmother said, I don't sell flowers. You can see where this is going. And then she was like, well, I really, you know, would like it. And grandmother's like, no. And grandpapa recognized, of course, that there's a problem immediately. Because the white lady got in her buggy and drove on off. And, you know, we're talking 1900, you know, a bad period in American history. It's there, and no one pretend it's not. But the Watsons are all hunters. And so that night, grandpapa had 5 brothers. And so he called them, so we had a Watson in every window of every door, because it was pretty good. Now, grandpapa was a conciliatory kind of guy, so he went to the husband of the woman, because everybody knows everybody. And he said, you know, I'm sorry about my wife, you know, how can we solve this? And the man said, well, I can give her 10 lashes with a buggy whip, and it'll be all right. And well, first of all, grandma was in love with her. Nobody could be making love to somebody got a buggy whip. So, I mean, think about it, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, no, that ain't gonna happen. And so grandpapa's brothers, everybody got together, and they said, you know, John Brown, Lavinia is gonna continue to cause a problem. Already the first divorce in the family, now she's spouting off to white people, and eventually somebody's gonna get killed. So why don't you all move? And so that's what happened. And they moved to Knoxville, Tennessee. They moved grandmother because we had friends in Knoxville. And then grandpapa got a job teaching at Austin High. I was just sharing that because it's just something that you do or don't know about. When we talk about, I mean, it wasn't about Nikki. I mean, it was about Nikki because then I was going to be born. All of them were born in Albany, Georgia. All of us, including my nephew Christopher, were born in Knoxville, Tennessee. And my only child, my son, is the first person to be born in Cincinnati, Ohio. because that's how the family sort of migrate. I am saying this to say that some of you, especially young people in the room, your families have incredible stories. They really, really do. And you need to sit down and listen, and you need to talk to them about it and find out what it is that they've been through. They don't talk to you because you act like you're not interested. And you think that they don't have anything to say to you, but there are great stories out there. Now, I was invited to talk about writing, but one of the things that writing does, it makes your mind, it makes you understand what it is you are going through, what it is other people have gone through, and how you have to access that. I'm not a fan of jobs because I live in America. And I do. Most Americans, most of the time, are not going to have a real job. Most of you people in this room who are students here at Savannah State are not going to have a real job. You're going to have to create a job. You're going to go out and start to do something that you are interested in doing, and pretty soon somebody's going to pay you to do it. You have to live, so you're going to get paid. But I'm not going to be the girl to stand up here and tell you, you need to do this so that you can get a job. That's just not where I'm coming from. You need to do it so that you can remain sane. Yeah. Because if you don't find out where you come from, you don't know where you're going, and it makes you crazy. And then nobody wants to be around you. You know what I'm saying? I just thought I'd share that. I think it's really important, if for no other reason, just for 1 year, keep a diary. Just every, it depends on your drinking habits. If you don't drink every night before you go to bed, but if you do every morning when you wake up. Right? Well, you know what I'm saying. Write down your thoughts. Just kind of do it. Just do it. Because one of the things I'm arguing with my students right now, I'm teaching Harlem Renaissance at Virginia Tech. And if you're looking for graduate school, might I suggest that you consider coming up into Appalachia? You know, you used to being around, nothing. I like Savannah, I don't mean it like that, I just mean, it's not Atlanta. If I was in Atlanta, I couldn't persuade you to come up to the mountains because you'd be like, damn, what am I going to do? Nothing goes on in Savannah, so you used to it. Well, I just thought I'd mention that. But I'm teaching the Harlem Renaissance, which is really, really wonderful to do. And what I did, we're just back in school. We don't go back to school until the day after King holiday, because we have the long break at Christmas. But what I'm doing with the Harlem Renaissance is I asked the class to write their obituary. Because, people don't realize it, nobody thinks about it, but there's one thing that's for sure. Absolutely, you will die. There's no point in worrying about it, there's no point in being nervous about it, and I know that there are people that are afraid of death, and there's nothing dumber to be afraid of, because you will do this. When you were born, there was an expiration stamp, put someplace, you don't know where it is, God is good with things like that. So you don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And so I just wanted the kids to write their obit, just to see. I only had one student that really, really, really did a good job. I had 2 students that really did really poor jobs. And it's like, come on. Well, I'm not sure what got in. We didn't talk to him, Well, he's there, God, what you think? Give me a story, because it's all about a story. People like me, by the way, and some of you may or may not know, it's not important, but people like me, the New York Times sends us obituaries every 10 years now. And what they do is they write your obituary. Yeah, haven't you ever wondered why they always know what they're doing? If I drop dead, the New York Times will have my obit in tomorrow, because they already have it written. They're not waiting until Nikki dies, they already have it written. Plus, they've sent it to me to say, would you mind, correcting anything? They don't mind doing that at all. It's like, well, I don't think I did, so you try to correct, try to sound good to yourself. But what the kids don't know, and you all can't tell them, is that now I'm going to ask them to write their eulogies. Yeah, because eulogies are very different from obits. But what I want them to do is to think about the life that they're trying to live. That's all I'm really wanting them to do. I wanted them to go forward with it, So I had a student, and she did. She went up to Mars, and she lived to be 108. She was just such a, and I thought, yeah, this is my A student. And Well, all of my students start with an A, they just don't all end up. Because it's creative writing. And so I don't want students to be nervous, you know, and I say that to all my students, everybody has an A, it's up to you to lose it. And you can lose it in any number of ways. One is you're careless with the language, because I like the language. And to be a Black American is to definitely be aware of the language, because the language is going to mean so much to the definition of who we are and how we go about defining ourselves. As we all know, and I say this in all fairness to everybody, the sound of planet Earth, the whole planet, is the sound of Black America. Because everywhere you go now, you hear hip-hop. You can go to Russia, you're going to hear hip-hop. You go to Yugoslavia, you're going to hear hip-hop. You can go to deepest Africa, everywhere you go, you hear hip-hop. Some people are going to tell you, oh, hip-hop is really bad language. No, it's not really bad language, it's honest. And one of the things that we don't like about the hip-hop generation is that they are truth tellers. Now, sometimes, you know, all they're doing, and we get a lot of attention to the guys just talking about sex. Sex is so uninteresting. I mean, it's nice to have sometimes. No, I mean, but it's just sex. And so there's no point in, you know, oh, girl, come on. Everybody, and women say yes to anything, so we don't need that. Don't you think? But we also know that there was a great kid named Tupac Shakur. And we know that Tupac is the one that's going to do Vote or Die. And we know that he was going to take his mic on stage, and he was going to start the voting. And we know that one of the reasons Tupac is no longer with us is that he was using his voice to do something. We know that hip-hop and what we're calling rap has tried to lead the next step in the revolution. These are great young men and great young women. When you see young women like Queen Latifah, and Dana's just a great kid, and I'm so glad, I hope her show does well, but she has taken her talent and she has gone on and on and on. Speaking of not having a job, Dana didn't have a job. She recreated herself in Queen Latifah, and she made herself do what it is that's good. She's an easy person to get along with, by the way. She's very nice. And you have to think, and this is what I'm trying to say to you, and I don't mean to be whatever I'm being. It's important to not let other people tell you what it is you're hearing and how you should respond to it. Because you start to spend your life apologizing. And in all fairness, Black Americans, we are great people. For some unknown reason, and this is an amazing thing to me, and I'm not a psych major, I'm a history major at this. I attended my grandfather's school. I'm not a sight person. But if you think about it, you were a free person in Africa, and mostly in West Africa. Just think about it for 2 seconds. You were captured. Already that's an aggravation. Oh, I gotta remind you. Can I just remind you? You must get a passport. Passports cost $120. Thank you. You must get a passport. Everybody on earth has 4 or 5 people that give you $30. You stand on the corner half an hour and get $30, just say, give me money. People don't even know why. You have to get a passport because we are now an international society. And I go back to Africa, I go back to Ghana now, and I do the LEAP program, LEAP program. And that's who gave me, my kids gave me this. Isn't it nice? Yeah, it really is. You can't go with me. I convinced Virginia Tech, I think I bullied them. And I was just like to Virginia Tech, you have got to send, I got to take 2 undergraduates with me. And you know, it's like, I'm not taking no for an answer. Because Tech is rich, it really is. And Savannah State is rich too, because your state school children. It is. Georgia's a rich state. You know, if Savannah doesn't have the money, call Atlanta. You know what I mean? And you have to go with us. We have to be able to take you places. We just can't let you sit here in Savannah or, you know, pinpoint Georgia. Nobody wants to be Clarence Thomas, for God's sake. You know, that's over there. You have to get your passport. And because we want you to go to Africa, you have to get your shots. The only shot you're going to have to pay for is yellow fever, and I think it costs like $30. $30 The rest of them, public health just gives you. They don't care. And you only get 2 yellow fever shots, and it's a booster, and you have it for the rest of your life, and that'll be fine. Because when something comes up, when somebody like me comes along and says, well, I got tickets for 2 kids, would you like to go? You don't want to say, I don't have a passport. Good. You want to have your passport. You say, well, Nikki, what if I don't get a trip? Hey, what the hell? At least you're ready. And you got to be ready because there's a world out there. And it's fascinating, and it's a lot of fun. I eat everything. I really do. I've never eaten fast food. I had a slider the other day, and that was really interesting. And I don't do that other stuff, McDonald's and them people, because they're crazy. Nothing should be that cheap, so you know it can't be good beef. And you know it's not good for you, because all you have to do is look around the 12-year-olds been eating that crap all of their lives. They weigh 800 pounds, they're going to be dead soon. I just thought I'd mention that, McDonald's don't like that. You want to be as healthy as you can be, because health is important. You want to be prepared to face the world, and you want to know that the world loves you. That's what we do with kids. That's why we pick up the little infants, and that's why we get, oh, mama, sweetheart. We do that because we want the kid to grow up knowing everybody loves you. And somebody maybe did or didn't do it for you, and maybe you understand, why she said, if nobody did it for you, then you have to do it for somebody. Because life is about passing that love along. And if you think again about our history, you think about being captured and being taken to the West Coast. In some cases, you were marched to the major, Senegal. You were marched to Cape Coast Castle. You were put down. You have to go see Cape Coast Castle because it's a terrible thing. It's as bad as going to see, and we all should go to see the concentration camps. It's a terrible thing. And you go down and it's totally dark, and it still stinks. And people died there. And the urine and the feces that just built up killed a lot of people. But those who didn't die got on a ship. And the ship is not going to be a comfort because, wherever it is, this is not something that you're knowing anything about. So you have survived being captured. You have survived being in a dungeon. And now you're on a rowboat that's going to row you out to a ship that's going to have sails. And whatever it is, it's not going to be a good idea because you're not an idiot. And as you look back, you are rowing away from the only thing that you actually know, which is this land that we're going to now call Africa. You're going to be put on the boat, but on the boat, and you've seen that. If you haven't seen it, shame on you. You've seen how they laid people head to toe, head to toe, head to toe. So now you're on a big boat being entrapped. If you can imagine just being pushed like you're just cargo. And you're now sailing, and you're going to sail, of course, west. You're going to start to come across the Atlantic Ocean. If you've never sailed the Atlantic Ocean, it's something that you should do. I'm not saying like in the morning, but if you get an opportunity. No, because you're young. But it's something to see because it's very frightening. If you think about just the Titanic, and these people paid good money to be on that damn thing that went down. So you can imagine what it must be like, And so now we're sailing, and it's night. And now we're sailing this the next day. Well, everybody knows if we don't bring those people up, they will all be dead. So we're going to have to bring them up on the deck so that they can have exercise, so that their muscles, so that we can sell them because they are cargo, and so that they can have fresh air. And when the people come up on that second day, they can look back because the sun's coming up, the sun rises in the east and sets down in the west. These are things that people know. So they know this is where they're coming. They can see the land. And they can say, okay, maybe I can get home. I know you and I don't swim. Black Americans, for the most part, don't swim. We're always get amazed when Black Americans can swim. Yeah, it is amazing. That's another discussion. But Africans can swim. So they know if I can jump overboard, which some did, they could get back to their land, which some could. Most couldn't, because of course when they jumped overboard, they got shot. And of course if you get shot, another thing happens. You put blood in the water. If you put blood in the water, another thing happens. Thank you, sharks. I've always enjoyed shark attacks on the United States. Every time I read about one, it just makes my heart feel good. I'm not a nice person. I recognize that. But I love the shark attack Because the sharks wouldn't be here, damn it, if you had left me in Africa. So, goody for the sharks. So the sharks are gonna start to follow the ship. And we're gonna go, in the 5th day, we're gonna bring them up, and they're gonna do the same thing. We actually take whips, as you know, and we whip not them, but at them so that they jump away, and it does the muscle thing, right? And we're moving on and moving on. Now, we know because you study slave narratives, and you study, and if you're not doing anything else, study the captain's logs, because they're there, speaking of logs. We know that it's gonna be the 10th day on the slave ship that the difficulty is gonna occur. And we know that because on the 10th day, the captain is going to pull everybody, every white man on that boat will now be armed. And that's gonna be because when they bring the Africans up, they're gonna look, and they're not gonna see the land, they're not gonna see the clouds that have been over the land, they're not gonna see anything they know, and this is the point of rebellion. This is the point that they are going to say, we need to do something about these people now. We need to do something. And so the white men, in order to protect themselves, are going to have their guns. Because we have to get through that 10th day. Now this is why I love black women, because there's just nothing not to love about black women. We're wonderful. And the black women on that ship do very, very well that whatever it was, those of us that were not killed at that moment had to find a way to survive. And so it's going to be the black women in the bottom of those ships that are going to raise a song. They're going to, and somebody's going to answer that. Because, you know, these people does not have a common language. They're from different parts of Africa, and it's going to be that song that's going to emerge ultimately into the Negro spiritual, that's going to find that tone that we can communicate and come together. And somehow those people, and this was my question, somehow those people arrived on these shores through a horrible situation, sane. How did they remain sane? And it had to be the faith that they had and whatever God meant to them, that they should survive this, and they should go forward, and they should make a life on the new continent. And in making that life on this continent, they changed this continent. America would not be America if we had not been here, if we had not been a part of the communication, if we had not believed in whatever gods it is that smiled on us. America would not be what it is. And we have that obligation to continue that journey of those people with sanity. Today is not the day to decide black people are not good people. We are a great people. We are a wonderful people, and we are a people committed to tomorrow. We are a people who want to see the world be better. We are nice people. We've never lynched a white person in our lives. We didn't. We welcome everybody. If you come and sit at the table, somebody say, baby, don't you want something to eat? I love black people for that. And you have to remember who we are and what it is that has made us a good people, and we want to hold on to that. I wrote a poem that I'd like to share, and it's called Quilting the Black-Eyed Pea. Because I'm involved, I love that point. Thank you. I'm a space freak because one of the things I really, really, really want to do is go to Mars. They're not going to let people like me go to Mars because I'm old. And it's age prejudice. It really is. No, I think we need to send some more. We keep sending young people of all colors, but you know, look at what goes into space. And they come back and say the same old crap. There ain't nobody up there. Oh, what the hell?